Hello, I'm Alia, and this is my teammate Saina.
Okay.
Saurabh Ashtamkar holds a master's in physics, specializing in astrophysics, and has over 15 years of experience in analytics fields. He works in a fintech company based in New York that offers algorithms for trading commodities and more. He has a passion for the natural world, venturing into the wild and exploring multiple wildlife sanctuaries across India. Having explored the avian wonders around Mumbai and actively participating in bird races, Saurabh sir is deeply connected to the birding company. So, have you noticed any environmental changes during your birding activities in urban environments over the years?
So about the environmental changes, yes, there are a lot of habitat changes as everyone keeps on talking about them. So it's mainly about losing of the wildlife habitat. So for example, if you talk about forest, then usually it's about the deforestation. Or if you talk about wetlands, then it's about wetland encroachment. Or if it's mangroves, it's also about mangrove encroachment, which you can surely see in the coastal area of say Vashi Creek or even Sivri. I mean, you all of you know that. I mean, there is a new Trans Harbor link which is built from Sivri to Navi Mumbai at Uran. So it actually went right through the flamingos habitat. So these are some of the changes which I noticed in the bird habitat in the recent time in and around Mumbai. So these were some of the common examples. I mean, even for this SGNP, which is your Gandhi National Park, situated at Borivali, its area also has shrunk a lot. So I mean, in the periphery area of say Borivali, Kandivali, Malad, even Goregaon, you can clearly see the forest line receding even at the other side, which is at the Thane side. There also there have been a lot of development projects which are built at the edge of the forest, and as time goes on, that boundary keeps on pushing the forest line. So the forest is also quite shrinking. So these are the changes which I have noticed in and around Mumbai when it comes to the habitat of the birds.
You mentioned flamingos. Have you gone flamingo seeing?
Yeah, I have multiple times. I
What
have
was your
seen.
experience? Because I've gone once, so I would like to hear
Okay.
yours.
So
Oh,
where have you gone? Is the question. Where have you gone to watch them?
I can't remember the location.
So was it in the Navi Mumbai where I mean the Nerul side where usually now the flamingos are there, or have you gone and seen the flamingos in Shivdi when there was no Trans Harbor was there? So
So I
when
think we went 2 years ago. So
okay, so most likely you have been to Thane Creek because 2 years back there was construction which was going on in Shivdi. So I used to go a lot to Shivdi. So it was quite a good experience. I mean, it's a creek, and there is a jetty. I mean, it is still going to be there. So we used to go to the jetty, and from jetty we used to see the flamingos. So what used to happen was as the water, I mean, depending on the tide, as the if you go at a time when the high tide starts going on. So what happens is water keeps on coming in. So the water level gradually increases. So at that time, what used to happen was all the shorebird used to come near you. So you could actually see flamingos, which were lesser flamingos, from a very small distance. And not just flamingo, there were other shorebirds also, like your curlews, sandpipers, then red shanks, and other birds. So there were a lot of birds that you could see from say, Shivdi. And that was, I think, at least 5, 6 years back, before the construction of the Trans Harbor link.
even if it's just for the birds, like it would be inconvenient to live in those kind of areas also, right? Because of the work going on.
So now that work has stopped, I doubt because of the vehicular traffic. Because these birds, when all the birds, they prefer a little bit of privacy. I mean, if you approach them a little bit, they will fly off. So with all this continuous traffic, I don't think that many, I mean, at least when we used to go there, the birds were in thousands. So now you might see, I mean, in hundreds, but that quantity, I mean, the number is going to be very less. I think most of them now they have migrated to the Vashi Creek, Vashi or Thane Creek. So there can be residual population which you can see, or even other birds, but it's going to be much lesser than what it used to be. This is the classic example of the degradation of your habitat.
So when we spoke, you mentioned about your niece's interest in conservation biology. And
Yeah,
how do you think, yeah,
she is into it. I mean, she is currently doing her PhD in Columbia University in US. So I think that was, I mean, she was interested into biology. She is an engineer. Then afterwards, she thought, I mean, she realized that her interest lies in biology. So I remember she taking me to some trail. I don't remember exactly which trail it was, but I think it was in national park only. So she took me to some trail, and we did birding together. We spotted different I mean, not animals, the insects, and then the different type of plants. So that actually piqued my interest in bird watching, because that was very soothing kind of activity. And biology, academically, I never liked it. I never liked biology. I used to run away from biology. But seeing how it is in reality, I mean, what experience it gives, so it was quite different, and I never expected that. So that's why it actually piqued my interest into birds. And you can say conservation, but I'm not into conservation. I just like, I'm a bird watcher, I would say. I will not classify myself as a conservationist, but yes, definitely a bird watcher.
What role do we play in the conservation of bird species like sparrows?
So for sparrow, I mean, since we are talking about the urban habitat, so sparrow, as you have said, I mean, you know that the population of sparrow is on decline, and I mean, in cities like Bangalore, or I think it's Chennai. I mean, in most of the metro cities of India, the sparrow population has declined drastically. I mean, fortunately for me, I mean, I live in an area which is near to national parks, so I can still see some sparrows around, at least in my hand, around my house. But otherwise, from the conservation perspective, I think the reason, I mean, we have to first understand the reason of decline of the sparrow population. I mean, there are two, three key factors to it. One being decline, decline or degradation of its habitat, and second is its food. So sparrows may, feed on mainly two type of things. I mean, as you're aware, they feed on seeds and weeds, or they feed on insects. So now, if we want to conserve them, obviously, I mean, what we can do is we can install some places where they can have their food in the form of seeds that we can provide to them. And second thing would be, I mean, we need to plant more trees so that they can build their nest, because many times what they used to do, they used to build their nest inside the house also. I mean, they are very adaptive. But the way now the houses have been, I mean, there is no place for them to even make their nest. So only option that they have is trees, which are also getting chopped down due to various reasons. So it's both ways for them. The food is also in on decline, and there is no space for them to stay or build their nesting part. So if we can plant more trees and provide them more food, then definitely we can stabilize the population. I will not say that we will be able to rebound their population, considering what kind of environments we have, but at least we can protect, I mean, stop them from being completely extinct from the urban areas. That's what we can do.
so if we are trying to stabilize their decline, then how do you think we can use technology for sparrow conservation?
So in terms of technology, I would say, I mean, the number is still quite large. And I mean, I know there are other ways. I mean, ringing is there, but ringing is a different way. I mean, it's usually used for the migratory birds. Sparrow being not a migratory bird, it's a local bird. So I don't know how the ringing will help. But if we are going to use callers, radio callers, but I think it's going to be very costly. But otherwise, what we can do is we can map what is the existing population, and then understand where is, I mean, where the current population stays. So from there, what we can do is we can ensure that the it's food and the trees or the forest area or whatever the plantation is present, we can ensure with the technology that its habitat is protected and we are getting enough food. I mean, we are able to provide enough food for them using the technology. I mean, the technology here would be used, I mean, is this maps to understand is there any impact or change in the habitat of that particular habitat of that, or that patch? Is there any decline in the trees or decline in the grassland? Because they can stay in the, I mean, feed in the grassland as well. So we can change the, we can track the change to the habitat through the technology. And maybe we can also use some kind of technology. I'm not sure what can we do, which can monitor the level of food present. Or I mean, usually when we I mean, put up some bird feeder spots, usually it is not just utilized by the sparrows. There will be squirrels or some other birds like pigeons or other which will come and eat that food also. So maybe we can utilize some technology to deter the others from eating the food which is meant for sparrow. So that is my opinion. Like these are the ways in which we can utilize the technology to at least stabilize the sparrow population.
Have you heard of citizen science?
Citizens,
Citizen science.
citizen science.
Yeah, so it's like using science but involving people who are slightly unaware about topics as well.
So I think, I mean, if I'm not wrong, is it about making people aware? I mean, it's
Sort of.
educating. Yeah. So I think that goes, I mean, so if that is the case, then it is already there. So classic case would be for that is Amur falcons. I mean, in their trans, I mean, I mean, they are migratory in India and they are just passage birds in India. They don't even stay here during the winter or anything. So in Nagaland, there is a place, there is a dam. I don't remember the dam exactly. So which falls on their transit from, I think, China or Siberia to Africa. So they used to gather there as a uh, migratory route for the roosting in very large numbers, but the local used to hunt them a lot. So this education, like, I mean, making the tribal people aware of these birds and their importance, that has helped in locals not killing the birds a lot. So if you're talking about citizen science from that perspective, then definitely we can utilize citizen science. I mean, we can educate people more about the sparrows and what we should do to protect the sparrows.
Um, are there specific observations you are aware of that highlight the challenges sparrows face in urban settings?
So the challenges, as I said, I mean, the reason for its decline is the challenge, actually, which is, I mean, number one would be your habitat decline. I mean, you don't have trees, you don't have any place where they can build their, I mean, nests, because the new buildings which are built, I mean, earlier, because you used to find even the nest inside the house. We used to have galleries, and in gallery, there's somewhere sparrows would build their nest and they will lay their egg. Now the even the modern infrastructure is such that they can't even build their nest inside the buildings. So habitat decline. And coupled with that, non-availability or the food also is getting declined because they don't have seeds available, weeds available. I mean, it's all concretization and tar roads which are built. I mean, all the development which is happening because of that, the even the food has declined. I mean, they will eat small insects also. Those insects are also quite less because of all these things. So those are the two challenges which I see: the food and the habitat for the sparrows. And third thing, I'm not sure how much impact would be, but if you observe, there is a rise in population of one pigeon and second is crows. So these two are very aggressive birds, which I mean, crows, for example, they are very aggressive and they will even drive away bigger birds. So those also can be a threat to population of sparrow. I'm not sure, but as far as my understanding goes, and the nature of these birds, they can be pretty invasive and they can drive away the other birds which are smaller.
I think we touched on how we can help before we spoke about the problem completely. So, if we could just go back to citizen science for a second, because I think it'll be interesting to discuss this with you. Citizen
Okay.
science is research conducted with participation from the general public or amateur non professional researchers.
Okay.
So, one example that I read of citizen science is to create an online platform or app where participants can submit their observations and contribute to a collective database. So, do you
Yes.
think that in any way could help sparrows or
It is
help?
going to. It will help because, as you know, the area is quite large, and you need monitoring. So if you are going to establish that something is declining or increasing, you need to have observations which are, I mean, from data speaking, I mean, you need substantial amount of data to validate anything statistically, whether it is declining or not, or anything is happening. So if you are going to collect the data, obviously you will need more amount of people to do that. I mean, those who are actual ornithologists or biologists or conservation in the field of conservation, those numbers are quite large. I mean, quite small. So it is practically impossible for them to do everything. Hence, the involvement of people is required. So this involvement that you're talking about is at the first step, which is your data collection part. I mean, they will observe and they will uh, lodge the data at one particular place. So which will be your data collecting or your data bank. From there, you will analyze it. Then the next step has to be there. I mean, since I mean people are going to be everywhere, and this is going to be the habitat which is shared by the sparrows and the people. We need to educate them on how to take care of the sparrows so that I mean their population is not declining. So that comes as a second step.
So, what was the first step?
So first step is what you correctly said. I mean, you need to have a lot of people who will record the changes or record the species and their behavior, their number, whatever it is, and they will, I mean, compile the data or they will report the data at a particular place. So that's what the first place is. But the question then arises, okay, once you have the data, what do you do of the data? What is the actionable? So actionable has to be also there from the data. Otherwise, the data is useless. It's just for the academic purpose. So that's why I said there will be another second step, which will involve again the citizens because they are going to share the space with sparrows. So in that, you will need to educate about the sparrows and how to coexist with them in with helping sparrows survive in the urban landscape, which is changing.
Okay, Alia, do we have anything else to cover up?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think that's it then. Thank you so much. That was really insightful.
Thank you. I'm glad that I'm helpful for you.
I find it very
Thank
interesting to
you.
hear people's different perspectives on the same topic. So,
Okay, nice, good.
It was a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Same here. Thank you.